All right, the next group before us is the Ontario Real Estate Association. I believe Mr. Tom Lebour and Matthew Thornton are here today to join us. Aaron, take care of yourself. All right. Okay. Good morning. Welcome, gentlemen. So as you heard earlier, you have 10 minutes for your presentation, followed by 5 minutes of questioning. And this round question will be coming from Ms. Fife, the official third party, and you may begin any time. Please identify yourself and your position with the Ontario Real Estate Association for the purpose of the answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tom Lebour. I'm a broker with Royal Pace Real Estate Services in Mississauga and current chair of the Government Relations Committee at the Ontario Real Estate Association. Joining me today is Matthew Thornton, OREA's Director of Government Relations. We would like to thank this committee for the opportunity to present our recommendations for the 2015 Ontario budget. By way of background, the Ontario Real Estate Association is one of the province's largest professional associations with over 60,000 realtor members in 40 real estate boards throughout the province. As you can see from our pre-budget submission, OREA has made 5 recommendations for inclusion in the 2015 Ontario budget. For the purpose of this presentation, however, we will focus on 2 realtor priority issues. Before we get to OREA's recommendations, I would first like to provide the committee with an overview of the real estate market and some brief comments about the importance of the housing industry to Ontario's economy. 2014 was a good year for the housing market in Ontario. Dollar volume, unit sales, and average price also saw healthy increases from 2013 to 2014. In 2014, Ontario Realtors transacted 206,000 residential properties, up 3.7% over last year, with the overwhelming majority of local markets seeing year-over-year increases. These sales were valued at $88 billion, up from $79 billion in 2013. The average price of residential home in Ontario increased from $402,000 in 2013 to $430,000 in 2014, up 7% year over year. While the increase in average prices have reduced affordability in some markets, low interest rates and strong demand should continue to support a stable provincial housing market in 2015. According to the Canadian Real Estate Association, Ontario will see moderate gains of 1 to 2% in average price, unit sales, and dollar volume in 2015. This bodes well for both home buyers and sellers as we head towards the spring market. But how important is this activity to Ontario's economy? Research has shown that each resale home transaction in our province triggers consumer spending that has broad economic impacts. More specifically, each transaction generates $53,000 in additional consumer spending on everything from professional services to appliances and home renovations. In 2014, this consumer spending generated over $10.9 billion in economic activity and supported the creation of 77,000 jobs. These jobs include both direct and indirect jobs in the manufacturing, construction, and financial service sectors. In short, Ontario housing market supports a large portion of the province's economic output and thousands of jobs annually. We urge this committee to be conscious of these important benefits as it considers recommendations for the 2015 Ontario budget. On now to OREA's recommendations with focus on 2 key themes. First, we are advocating that real estate professionals in Ontario be treated fairly when it comes to forming professional corporations. As many of you know, Ontario Realtors are prevented by the Real Estate and Business Brokers Act from incorporating their businesses through a personal real estate corporation. While the barriers to forming PRECs are real, the rationale for why Ontario Realtors continue to be treated unfairly is not. When REBA was drafted in the early 2000s, the government mandated that real estate brokers could only pay fees to a registered or licensed entity under the Act. Since REBA does not consider PRECs as a class of license, It effectively precludes a salesperson from operating their business through a professional corporation. This structure was implemented as a method to prevent unlicensed persons from trading in real estate, not to stop PRECs. Since then, the government has moved to permit a number of professions in Ontario to form professional corporations, namely chartered accountants, architects, social workers, and veterinarians have all been granted the ability to form professional corporations under the Business Corporations Act. More recently, in 2008, the province gave mortgage brokers, a profession very similar to real estate, the ability to incorporate. But what about other provinces? Starting in 2008, the BC, Nova Scotia, Quebec, Manitoba, and Alberta provincial governments all moved to permit PRECs. While fairness continues to be the most compelling reason in support of PRECs, this proposal also involves a modest economic benefit and will cost the provincial treasury no lost revenue. According to our research, PRECs would not only more than pay themselves through the collection of additional sales tax revenue, they would also create up to 80 new jobs per year and pump $25 million into Ontario's broader economy. In short, making the move to permit personal real estate corporations would be a revenue-neutral policy change for the government that would also include a modest economic benefit. Finally, the other professional corporations, like the other professional corporations, PRECs will in no way hamper consumer protection. Instead, real estate salespeople who form personal corporations will continue to be subject to all professional and ethical obligations under the Real Estate and Business Brokers Act. OREA's second recommendation for the 2015 Ontario budget focuses on an issue that's near and dear to millions in Ontarians, protecting the dream of home ownership. More specifically, we are recommending that the Government of Ontario protect affordable home ownership for future generations and oppose the spread of the municipal land transfer tax. By way of background, in 2006, the Government of Ontario passed legislation giving the City of Toronto powers to raise additional revenues. Subsequently, in 2008, Toronto introduced a municipal land transfer tax. Unfortunately, we know municipalities across Ontario are eager to acquire the same revenue-generating powers as Toronto. We also note that the province is preparing to conduct a review of the Municipal Act. As such, OREA is very concerned that an MLTT is being considered as a potential new revenue tool for municipalities. As you know, the municipal land transfer tax is applied to purchases on all properties in the City of Toronto over and above the existing provincial land transfer tax. Last year, the MLTT added $7,000 to the average price Toronto home. Altogether, local home buyers will pay $15,000 in land transfer tax to the province and the city on an average priced home. Ontario Realtors oppose this tax for many reasons, but today we'll focus on two. First, the tax is fundamentally unfair. A municipal land transfer tax forces a small segment of taxpayers to fund municipal services enjoyed by everyone. Each year, a small percentage of Ontario homeowners will move for different reasons. A young family with a baby on the way who needs more space, aging seniors who need to change their lifestyle, or heaven forbid, a family breakup. It is unfair and wrong to expect these people to shoulder so much more burden in taxes for no additional services. Second, this tax is bad for housing market and by virtue, bad for jobs and the economy. For example, in 2012, CD Howe Institute study found that the MLTT in Toronto has caused 16% annual reduction in resale home transactions since it was introduced. Building on CD Howe, a 2014 Altus Group report found that an estimated 38,000 resale transactions were lost in Toronto between 2008 and 2013, thanks to the MLTT. Perhaps most disturbing, the study found that the tax caused a lost cost a loss of $2.3 billion in economic activity and a loss of nearly 15,000 jobs. Altus Group also conducted research into what the impact of an MLTT would mean if it were to spread to other municipalities, including London, Hamilton, Mississauga, Ottawa, and Thunder Bay. The results show a significant reduction in home sales in each of the 5 markets.
Mr. Lebourg, can you wrap up your presentation, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
In conclusion, we are here on behalf of Ontario Realtors today to remind this committee that home ownership is and will always be the dream of the middle class. It is an institution that's vital not only to our economy, but also to our social fabric. Let's continue the support to affordable house access to home ownership for the present and future generations. Let's support the Canadian dreams here in Ontario. Thank you, and we're happy to take your questions.
Thank you. Ms. Fife, you want to begin the questioning?
Thanks very much, Tom, and Matthew, for coming in. You know, we've heard actually throughout the province how important home ownership is, and we've learned a lot more about the barriers to home ownership, depending on where you are actually in the province of Ontario. The issue of the municipal land transfer tax, I mean, municipalities are desperate for revenue. This government is desperate for revenue. Is there what indication do you have that the government will move forward with this enabling municipalities to have this tax?
Well, there's been no direct indication or sort of overt indication. It's been we know that the act is up for review, and certainly a lot of the large urban mayors are pushing behind the scenes for more revenue tools, and the MLTT is an attractive one because here in the city of Toronto it is generating a lot of revenue. So that's our concern. There's certainly been no indications either way, but certainly we're being proactive in engaging.
So you're red flagging it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the resistance to the personal real estate corporations, I mean, you make a strong case for this. And as you say, mortgage brokers have already been allowed to go down this road. What is the resistance to enabling this legislation?
I think there's, although our research goes into quite a bit of detail about how the proposal is revenue neutral, there is some concerns inside the Ministry of Finance around the potential for lost revenue, although we would certainly suggest that it is a break-even proposition for the province. We continue to work on it, continue to have those discussions with folks inside government, but it's moving a little bit more slowly than we would.
Well, you did bring forward some research from KPMG in 2002 that said there is, that there could be some costs, but that depends on the market as well, I anticipate.
It does, yeah. There's certainly some costs in terms of the change, but our research has shown that once you make the change, the additional business that a corporation would do would generate more sales tax revenue. So that lost corporate tax revenue would be regained through additional sales tax revenue.
Now, you didn't get a chance to sort of address the issue of marijuana grow-ops because you ran out of time. It was just an issue on the news last night I was watching. Did you want to expand on the need for a registry?
Absolutely, yeah. So I think, one of the concerns that our members have when they're helping people buy homes is that there's no reliable way for a home buyer to know whether or not the property they're looking at purchasing was a former marijuana grow operation. And MGOs can have a lot of health and safety issues associated with them. Mold is probably the most common one, and certainly that can impact people with asthma and that kind of thing. So what we're suggesting is that the province create a registry through the land title system that would allow a home buyer to see if the property they were purchasing was a former marijuana grow operation. That would involve some coordination between law enforcement and municipalities to register those work orders on title, but it would provide a real effective way for buyers to know that the property they were purchasing was a former MGO and make an informed decision.
Yeah, and it's a consumer protection issue.
Absolutely.
But also it could be a deterrent as well, because if we're tracking it, then people know that they just can't open a grow up wherever.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we're supportive of that, and that just makes sense. You've raised the issue of the deficit debt reduction. This is a huge issue for you. Do you want to talk about consumer confidence in the province of Ontario as it relates to the financial state of the province of Ontario?
Certainly, I think we can talk about it from the perspective of the housing market, and obviously, deficits in debt can have an impact on interest rates, and certainly that's our concern from a home buyer's perspective. I think the province has made a commitment to balance the budget in 2017, 2018, and our recommendation is just to stick to that timeline.
Do you think that they're going to hit that target?
We're very hopeful that they do, yeah.
You're cautiously optimistic?
Cautiously optimistic,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, that's something. Brownfield development, you didn't really get to this. This is absolutely a growing issue, especially with the good places to grow and the way planning acts are not aligned municipally to the
Okay,
provincial
Ms. Fife,
legislation.
we're done. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
gentlemen. Thank you
course,
for your
thank you, sir.
presentation and your written submission. The next group before us is the Community Living Ontario, and I believe